Don't be alarmed, but today's message has a little bit of disruption energy. I shouldn't say a little bit, I should say a lot of it. And it's kind of all over it. But don't worry, there's no good or bad in the spiritual realm. It's just illusions we create in the world to understand things, and it doesn't really exist. So don't be fearful, don't be afraid, and let's jump into this. The question that keeps looping in today's channeling in my mind is the quote, "Does this life even feel like mine?" So at this time, you could be asking yourself directly, indirectly, I'm not sure, but you could be questioning the way your life feels at this time, as it doesn't feel right with who you are. And the who you are part could be an uncertain part. It's just there's a mismatch here that's very apparent in today's energy. There's something a little bit uncertain in what's going on in your mental space right now. It's either uncertainty or it's observation or it's both. This is super specific, but I kind of see both sides to this reading. So this might be two specific groups in the same soul path. There's definitely a division in who I'm talking to today. One half of you, we'll just say half because to understand energy, we have to kind of like put terms to it. But one half of you has proved yourself in some way. Like you did the hard thing. You went to school, you got the job, you found the person, you built a life with them, and now you're unsatisfied in some way with what you built. The other half of you feels like maybe you're waiting to prove that one thing, but you haven't yet built that one thing yet. It's almost like you're experimenting with different types of things to build, and you'll get halfway through the building process and stop. So this message will probably have two chapters for those who build and those who haven't yet but want to build. Although I see the soul archetypes are the same or very similar, you're just in two different timelines. I see the want is very different for most of you, like what you want to build. We'll use the word build. Some of you want to build a wildly successful life. Some of you want to build freedom. Some of you want to build real love and a real partnership, a physical home, a community. The way in which you want to build is all quite different and diverse, but the connecting factor here seems to be this goal of proving something here. Now, this could be whether to yourself or others. I know some of you might not like hearing that. There might be some rejection to me saying that, but hear me out because there's a part of this that maybe you're not seeing. I think this might have to do like the proving energy for a majority here of building something that lasts. That's important to all of you. That's an important goal in terms of like what the proving factor might be. Building something that lasts and that satisfies you, that you're content with. I think the proving energy could be sneaky here. Like you don't really understand why there's so much pressure on you while others seem to be less stressed or it seems to be less difficult for them. There seems to be an enormous weight that you're carrying in comparison to other souls that have different missions here in this lifetime. A good way to kind of test how much proving pressure you have on yourself or did in the past for some of you who are listening and resonating is that look at the quiet moments and see how uncomfortable that makes you. Look at the moments you're not building something, like you're reflecting on what you built or what you gave up building. How comfortable are you just kind of floating and doing nothing without a plan or a goal? That's how much proving energy still exists within you. And the reason you can tell in the quiet moments is because if in the busy moments you're channeling it into doing something a majority of the time, it's only going to show in those quiet places. So releasing proving energy means not needing to channel it into action necessarily, but maybe wanting to, just not needing to. That's the distinction there. I don't really know where spirit will take this message. I know that there's definitely two distinct parts we'll talk about since the groups here are in two different timelines. But this first part seems to be focusing around the energy of proving yourself. It's either very important recently, very important in the past, very important upcoming. You're still in a space of trying to figure out how to prove yourself. But I think what's important is both groups are very similar energetically. So while you both are similar energetically, I will separate the message into two separate messages from spirit, although I do think that both sides could help either or and vice versa. Also, just a side note for those who are new here and are like, who is this girl? Just always make sure to check out my descriptions if you are new and you don't really know how it works here. My method is very unique. And unlike channelers here on YouTube who kind of channel more simplistically, I fill in the complicated gaps of my method by typing out connection points in my description for you. So instead of telling you I pulled such and such tarot card or this energy came out, you get to see exactly how I read today's energy. This isn't something everyone wants. Not a lot of people want complicated nuances. So that's why I kind of put it in the side as an extra fun thing to read in case you do want it. So always check that out. Okay, this is part 1 for those who have built something and are not content with the arrival of the thing that they built. Kind of sunken cost fallacy is here in this energy. For some of you that spent a lot of your life working through this thing, whatever it is, or these multiple things, I sense that after you acquired the thing, whether it be status, partners, job, whatever, you kind of reach this liminal space where you're like, okay, this isn't it. Now what? So everything you work for kind of feels in vain or like discouraging. This could be very specific to where you're at right now after you've built your first thing or you've maybe built many things. I also see you doubting that you're just never going to be happy and you can't simply just be content in some way. Like there's some sort of self-doubt that's creeping in some quiet moments here. The message for those who resonate with this is that you are not meant to fit into containers for long periods of time. That might not sound like something you want to hear because, like I mentioned at the beginning, the goal of these two groups of people seems to be very similar. You want to build something that lasts, that you're content with, aka you want to build a container that you stay in. But I sense that you have periods of building and destruction in your life path for a very specific reason. You're kind of meant to build, and then you're kind of meant to purposefully destroy what you build and then rebuild. That energy starts with what feels like Jupiter and abundance and luck, like you're the type that's given these opportunities, these people, these circumstances, and you build fast. You're a very competent builder, but whatever it is that you want, you will create yourself. That's not the issue that we're focusing on here. The issue is Uranus as the sudden disruptor that comes in at this perfect moment that you've built peace or finally have reached some sort of stability in what you've built and then wants you to rebuild. Uranus wants you to start over and you feel that disconnect. Uranus isn't here to punish you. It's divinely orchestrated to nudge you along. And I see the friction here is when Uranus is present, not when Jupiter is present. So it's almost like checkpoints or evolution in your ascension bring you discomfort and bring you a lot of like issues. Another way to think of this is like you basically defeat a level and then once it's too easy, you're given your next level, but you don't want to go to the next level. You want to stay in the container you built, right? So that's kind of the friction we're talking about here. And I know some of you are tired and I feel that. I feel this is the group that might push back more than the second group I'll talk to in the next part of this message. But what I sense from this group is you don't want to keep beating levels. You don't want to keep working. You want it to just be abundant and you want to get gifts without trying so hard. And Spirit has a direct message to that. Spirit is saying very specifically, and maybe not what you want to hear, is you will never feel content in just getting things handed to you and having it be effortless. You can't know what it's like for it to be effortless because I see your life path is just not worked that way in the past. But there's a funny thing that the mind does where it tricks us into thinking whatever we don't have, the opposite, the polarity, is the better experience. And I'm here to tell you, especially souls like you, would never be content in being handed easy or effortless things because your soul was meant to build. It was meant to destroy, build, destroy, build. So the fact is that you maybe don't want to hear what you want would feel unbearable if you got it. Not really an easy message today, I know, but I think Spirit wants to tell the souls who are in this liminal space some hard truths. After reaching and reaching and reaching and finding this unfulfillment you keep finding, or specifically have found in this last cycle of building, it's not because there was something wrong with what you decided to do or that you don't know yourself. you're not just never going to be happy or never know what you want. That's not what's happening here. I think the message is very much you weren't meant to be contained into spaces like what you're seeking to do. And you're trying to fit yourself into spaces like how others do, with a status, with a job, with a lifestyle, house, marriage that just stays. You just stay in that space for years and years. And you think that that will give you content and happiness. But the reason you don't find that in your containers is you were meant to build something and then destroy it and then leave and then rebuild something better. The friction you feel is the point where souls kind of get trapped, especially these kinds of souls that I typically see. And the point of entrapment is not being comfortable to leave what you built before the new thing arrives. That's the biggest point of like friction of why a soul stays even long after they should have left and they know they should leave. They stay in that cycle because they don't want to give up what they built. They don't see a new thing yet. So why would they leave? And that's where this unhappiness cycle typically plays out the longest. So you've done that in the past, I see. But in this case, whatever you built here in this cycle took a lot of effort and a lot of determination to stay focused and complete it. So the idea of blowing it up kind of shocks your nervous system in a way that's, I think, stopping you from moving forward a little bit. So your message is not an easy one to hear today. You're meant to build things and blow it up. I'm not sure how comfortable that will feel to hear, but it could sound harsh. Like, what's the point of building things if I'm just going to blow it up? But the point for your soul's evolution is embracing this illusion of change in this lifetime by not becoming attached to what's changing in our perception. That is an illusion. You can find what's real, and what's real is you, and you are not changing. You are stable. You are certain. You are an unchanging force. That is your soul. So you are the only thing in this life that is unchanging and the only thing that is not an illusion. So the message here is to come back to self. And the way to do that is to not fall prey to illusion. And illusion is what changes. So for those who feel tired of building, of the process of building, and the thought of destroying it seems impossible to your nervous system, Spirit is showing you that peace won't come from forcing yourself to root or to be in a container forever. Rooting may look and feel and may have an illusion of relief and contentment, but the soul, yours specifically, will quickly become dissatisfied from confinement. And embracing that truth is very important to your mission in this lifetime. Your next version of peace kind of comes from trusting this rhythm of building and blowing up and building and blowing up, and knowing every time you release, the next build carries you higher. So it's not endless work. It's not supposed to be exhausting. It's about accepting it and accepting the refinement process as your abundance. This part of the reading focuses on the other half who have not yet built something. What I mean by that is where the other side of you have built something and reached an end goal. You are different. This group is different because you have not yet determined what your end goal even is yet. There's a lot of options here. This could be like building professionally, artistically, building a family, a house, a specific lifestyle. This group, unlike the last, has just not narrowed down on anything yet to completion. For some reason, they get to a middle or almost an end peak and then stop rather than complete. This could look like engagement without marriage. It could look like buying a house, but then moving. It could look like starting college and not finishing. It could also look like just building a business and then moving to a 9-to-5 regular W-2 job instead. The important factor here is this uncertainty for this thing you feel you need to do. You may have spent a lot of your life uncertain and kind of experimenting with different methods or ways to obtain a build of some kind. The build itself just kind of keeps changing. You keep changing your mind halfway through. For the uncertain group that I'm talking to now, there's a similar guidance here from Spirit to know that releasing your goals halfway through is not representing failure. It's not representing a lack of knowing yourself. It's more representing the level of pressure you're putting on yourself to prove. You could finish any of these missions that you build, that you've set out to. And I think you know that on some level. You know that you're capable. But I see the reason it falls through doesn't have anything to do with your ability to complete it. It more so is on the amount of pressure on the mission itself to build. And it bubbles over to the point to where you must leave. It's not because the goal itself matters in any way. It's more of a pressure system within yourself that you're overloading, that you're overworking. I don't even see the task or the mission or the build as important at all, because there's a message here that it's all an illusion anyway. So the focus on it is almost counterproductive here. The important piece of the build is actually the internal pressure system that you put on it. And that's where Spirit wants to focus today. I see here, if you release the pressure to pick something perfect or truly aligned, you'd finish. And even if that thing wasn't right, it still gives your soul the momentum, the energetic push it needs to find the right thing or more closely aligned to your higher frequency. So what's kind of happening here is this. The lack of finishing is the main issue here, not the perfect direction, not the perfect build, not the perfect mission. Your soul specifically is meant to go through this process of creating and destroying and creating and destroying until it no longer matters what's been created. There's just a piece in that process. Of course, gifts, abundance, etc., higher frequencies will all come through this process of building and destroying, but it only comes when you're detached from the process itself, from the outcome. And it seems to be proven through the release of building and the release of building what's quote unquote perfect. In other words, build the thing that doesn't feel right just to complete it and then move on. The pressure for it to be right or for it to be perfect is stopping some sort of critical momentum for building the higher frequency goals that you want and desire. It is through the process of building and destroying that you reach those higher momentum and higher frequency things. Each time you do build a higher frequency thing, your soul ascends higher to the point to where you're looking for where your goal is. And that only happens through, again, detachment from the outcome and complete trust in yourself that you can build it better and you can build it all again next time. It's not on finding the perfect thing. It's on finishing the imperfect things to completion, destroying them, and then moving on. I think the message for both groups today, whether those who have completed or those who haven't, is that the contentment that you're looking for that you haven't found through this process of not finishing or finishing and getting it and not being happy, the feeling that you're looking for only comes when you're totally okay with losing what you built again and you're certain in yourself to rebuild it better next time. You must fully detach from this process. This last part is maybe a confirmation to those who already instinctively know to do this, but keep leaving comments. The comments themselves do not have to be anything personal about you. Think of these as energetic nudges. This helps me align to your energy more efficiently and be able to channel for you. And I want to be able to do that. I read each and every one, always. None are missed. None are ignored. I am so thankful for each and every one of you and love you all. So, cheers, friends.